Okay, this is a conversation that needs to happen. And this conversation is how to stop comparing yourself in your journey, wherever that is, whether that is your health and your fitness or, your career or relationships and where you feel like you should be in a specific journey or in life. And so comparison is one of those things that isn't all inherently bad, but it obviously can turn negative very quickly. And so that's what I want to talk about today with you and give you some of my own advice on, how to actually make comparison be something that is actually helpful for you and how you can stop comparing yourself and focus on your own individual self and journey, whatever that is. So, when we compare ourselves to others as a way of measuring our own personal development or to motivate ourselves to improve in the process, we can develop a more positive self image, and comparisons can be beneficial. Like if you are, for example, let's say that you have really shitty habits, right? And you go on YouTube and you watch like a morning routine vlog or a productivity TikTok vlogs, and you really, really get motivated from watching this other person live their life with such organization or productivity, even though you know that it probably doesn't look like that every single day. But you like those habits, you want those habits. And so you might not be comparing yourself and being like, oh my God, I feel like shit because I have shitty habits and this person has great habits. You might more so hopefully be like, wow, like I really want to kind of have those habits. And so that is kind of an example of how comparing yourself can actually be beneficial. And it's actually not something that we choose to do consciously. Subconsciously, our brains are always comparing ourselves to our peers, to the people around us, in order to collect data on what it is that we do want and what it is that we don't want. And so it's super important to use discernment in these situations, because our brain is going to go ahead and collect all of this data based on our own perceptions or belief systems, and whatever uncomfortable feelings come up for us in the process is our work to do within ourselves. So while comparison can be beneficial in its own natural process, most of us are probably listening to this podcast because we want to learn how to avoid the pitfalls of a negative comparison. And so when we're talking about negative comparison, the quote, comparison is the thief of joy, is not a cliche for no reason, right? It really can be the thief of your own joy. And I've seen this happen as a coach. I've seen it happen in my own journey where I'm really focused on my own self. I'm making progress in my own ways. And then I look at my peers and maybe it looks like they're making so much more progress way faster. And it just feels like, okay, well, now I don't feel as good because it seems like everybody else is just killing it and, getting there super, super quickly. And I'm over here, 2 years into this process and I'm still here, right? And we can kind of compare in that sense. But again, this is the power of using discernment, because everybody has different levels of, priorities, different things going on in their journey, different seasons of life that they go through that you don't see. And we are also always seeing the highlights, especially on social media. And so you may look at a certain person and think, oh, like, why does it look so easy for them? Or I'll never be able to do that. Or I'll never be as good as that person. Or I wish I was that, whatever, insert blank. And the trick here is to instead look at the person or situation and shift to, how can I get to that level? What are the things that this person is doing that resonates with me and can fit that I can implement? And use discernment. Because you could look at somebody who's full on doing a crash diet and that question won't really align with that, right? But y'all are smart and y'all know how to use discernment, right? But this is what we call having a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. A fixed mindset says that there's something about you that is fixed, wrong, or there's something special or lucky about that other person. And you may truly believe that. And this is where rewiring our mind and adopting better belief systems and a growth mindset takes us extremely far. And so for those who don't really know like what the difference between a fixed mindset is and a growth mindset, well, a fixed mindset in itself is a victim mindset. It's just basically you believe that this is your situation, it's always been your situation, and no matter what, nothing can change it. And like the saying, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right, because you will only go as far as your belief systems take you, right? And so cultivating more of that growth mindset is the work that we do within the Embody Her coaching experience within our one-on-one coaching program. And this is where the real transformation work comes in, because it can be really easy. Like our brains are a lot more naturally wired to have this negativity bias where we're more geared towards the negativity. We're more geared to look at the loss or something that is negative, right? And we really work to cultivate more of that growth mindset where we actually are being more open to finding solutions while focusing on what is within our control and focusing on our own journey. And so one of the main areas I see people compare themselves, and this is kind of going back to what I was talking about earlier, is speed, right? Like I've been here this amount of time and this person's got there in 3 months or this person's got there in 6 months. And so what this tends to happen is it tends to make us feel discouraged, like there's something wrong with us or we're doing something wrong, which isn't true. Okay? And obviously there's always areas for improvement no matter where you're at, right? But that is why it's so important to focus on your own lane, your own pace, your own race, your own journey. Cutting out the noise, really, managing your screen time and consumption, and shifting your belief systems and the thoughts and the stories that are playing on in your mind. And even if you can't really hear these thoughts at the forefront of your mind, but they show up unconsciously as low motivation, feeling down about yourself, that is an opportunity to get curious on how you can actually turn this into something that is good for you. And so comparing our own journey or our life to others, again, can be helpful in certain ways, but putting quote unquote shoulds on our lives takes away our joy. And this is literally just due to social clocks and just not focusing on your own self. All that energy that we put into comparing ourselves could be put into our own, our own journey and our own selves, right? And so a social clock, what that pretty much is, it's basically like shared expectations of age-appropriate behavior, right? So members of society are told explicitly when it's a quote-unquote appropriate to start their first job, to get married, to have a baby, to purchase a home, and to retire. And so a lot of us naturally, subconsciously follow these lines of these social clocks, depending on our, cultures and things like that. And there could also be like this subconscious pressure to feel like we need to be at a certain place in life or in our journey because time is running out and this clock is ticking and we need to be here by now. And the amount of pressure that puts on ourselves slows us down like no other. It actually puts us in this place of scarcity or lack that we don't have and we can't have what it is that we want, or that there's this like ticking clock in the background that is like timing us on where we need to be, right? You might even be putting that own pressure on yourself. Right? Like I see this happen with like clients or even just women in my community and in my audience sometimes, where maybe you have an event coming up and it's like, well, I need to be here by then or else. And it's like, girl, relax. You're putting so much damn pressure on yourself, and all it is doing, because it's coming from a place of lack and fear and scarcity and anxiety, it's actually doing more harm than good. And this is why you see people crash dieting. This is why you see people getting into relationships that they shouldn't even be in, and they're settling, or they're getting married to people that deep down they know isn't the one, but it's just like, okay, like I'm just going to act like everything's good because I should. And you can see how this can really fuck with somebody later in life, right? And so I'm so thankful that like I have that little rebel gene where I'm like, I don't really give a fuck about like social clocks. Like I'm gonna have a kid when I want to have a kid. Like I'm gonna take into account like, you know, genes and things like that. But I've never felt the need to rush into a relationship. I've never felt the need to like I'm running out of time, and that if I don't find somebody by a certain, I mean, I'm in a relationship, but I know that there are fears that people have that if they don't find somebody by a certain time, like they've ran out of time. Or if they don't start their business by a certain time, that they've ran out of time. Or if they don't get their dream body by a certain age, that like it's too late. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's all beliefs. And a belief isn't real. It's literally just a thought that has repeated itself over and over again and is ingrained in your nervous system. It's a programming. And we can shift our programmings and rewire the way that we think about things. Okay? So moving on, you know, just a reminder, own lane, own race, own pace, and remove the shoulds in your life. Wherever you tell yourself like, I feel like I should. It's like, no, remove the shoulds and remain authentic to your journey and the pace that feels good for you. And if you do feel like authentically you do want a little bit more speed, then what needs to change? What habits are holding you back? What lifestyle habits are slowing you down? What about your environment are actually slowing you down? What thought processes are slowing you down so that way you can speed it up? Because I'll tell you right now, you know, as a coach, I could have 2 people in a calorie deficit, which is a weight loss phase for those who don't know. And I don't really care. Like, I know that for each, like in a singular deficit, most people want to lose around 20 to 30 pounds, right? And so we do have a certain timeline that we want to get out of our deficit in order to get there. But client A could be going through a lot of, you know, different things in her life that could slow down the process. Doesn't mean that she's not going to get there, but it just might take a little bit longer than client B, who is smooth sailing and, you know, it's her top priority to really hit all of the things, right? But client A isn't in control of that. She's only in control of her life and what she has going on, right? I've had clients go through breakups in the middle of their deficit, and we have to take like a 2-week break for them to heal before we go back in, right? I've had people who need to take 6 months to really prime their metabolism and, you know, gain a little bit of healthy weight and get to a prime position before their deficit. And so overall, their journey to their goal is going to be a little bit longer. Does that mean that it's wrong? No, it's just that it's your journey. Okay. So I want to leave you guys with some advice to really ease any negative comparison. The first thing to understand is that comparison is just a natural part of our brain. It's just like a part of survival. It's a part of empathy, right? Like when we empathize with people, it really allows us to be like, how would I feel if I was in their shoes, right? And so it's a part of that. And so you can continue to leverage, you know, positive comparison. But when it comes to negative comparison, my best advice is to realize that if you want to look for it, you know, on social media, it's filled with highlight reels. There's always going to be someone smarter than you. There's always going to be someone subjectively prettier than you, right? Based off of like standards, right? That's why I say subjective. There's always going to be someone more successful than you. The smartest person won't always be, you know, like the most attractive times based off of like societal standards. The prettiest person might not be the most successful. The most successful might not be the kindest. And the funniest person in the motherfucking room might not, you know, be whatever. And so it's worth remembering that we often only see the best of other people online. And it's easy to think that we've got it completely together when we have a one-dimensional view of them. And that's why I think it's so important to follow people who do actively share vulnerable moments in their lives. And not everything is always so curated and perfect. And again, it's use discernment. Like social media is going to be there. There absolutely should be that, but it's also like use discernment. Do an own audit of your own. Like, how much are you obsessing about other people's bodies? How much are you obsessing about other people's lives? And it's almost a point of escapism where all of that energy could be towards you, right? I like to manifest through people. Like, if I find a woman who lives a life that I want to live, like, I can manifest through her by like seeing that that's the life that I want to live. But when it comes to negative comparison, instead of focusing on what other people have or are, turn that focus inward. What do you have? What are you proud of? What do you value? What are your strengths? What can you celebrate about your own progress? Even if you don't feel like it's super like win worthy or like this big shiny achievement, how can you force yourself to collect small baby wins that over time compound to such a beautiful and profound transformation, right? Compare yourself to the person, compare you to you. Compare yourself to the person you were yesterday. Compare yourself to the person you were 2-3 years ago. I'm sure you can find areas of growth, right? Focus on yourself. And in my experience, one of the most helpful quotes, especially when it comes to comparing your beauty to others, because that was something that I struggled with. Like, I know I'm beautiful. Like, I know that I have a beautiful energy and I love myself, obviously. But if I'm comparing myself to like an Instagram baddie, like a baddie, I could sometimes feel a little insecure and think that like my partner might find them more attractive, or that like they have like this facial structure that I wish that I had, right? Or like whatever. And something that really helped me, not to go off on a tangent here, is that a garden of roses and a sunset are just as beautiful. They're just different, right? They're just different. And so that's another piece of advice I want to give you. If you find yourself comparing, especially in areas of like appearance or beauty, is understanding that there's there is no like hierarchy. It's just different. It's just different. And like when you can really embrace like your own qualities, right? The things that you might not like, like your own imperfections, or like your imperfections are the things that are actually so perfect about you. I mean, why the fuck do our partners love us the most when we literally look like Adam Sandler? Like, what? I mean, obviously my man dies when I'm like all dolled up and I love it. But when I literally have frizzy hair, I'm wearing no bra, I'm wearing his big t-shirt, my breasts stink, I be getting the most kisses, And so compare you to you. Who do you want to be? What are you proud of? How can you focus on the value that you can provide yourself? And the things that we feel inadequate about, how can we work on that for ourselves? Right? Because I can mope in the mirror and be like, I don't like the way that I look. I don't like the way that I feel. I wish that I was like this. I wish that I was like that. Or I can fucking do something about it. And if you don't know where to start, there's people that can help you. There's free resources online. If you've done all the free resources, you've tried to do it on your own, then I would love to invite you to, see what that would look like to get a little bit more support. But at the end of the day, it's like, how can you shift that energy towards yourself? And doing it from a place of self-love and not from a place of inadequacy, right? I saw this TikTok the other day. She was talking about she's like, why do we have to get our nails done? Why do we have to like care about our beauty so much? Or, this can apply to anything, whether it's relationships, like apply it to wherever you find yourself comparing the most. I just know as women, it can be really easy to compare there. And I'm like, girl, I love this shit. Like I feel just as confident without nails and lashes and my eyebrows done, whatever, but look good, feel good. And I'm going to embrace that because I do it from a place of self-love. But if I was doing it from a place of self-hatred or self-inadequacy, then that would be a different energy, right? Same thing when someone wants to, build their dream body. Yes, of course, some of that is going to be a little bit of low self-esteem. And yes, I have seen when you build more muscle and you show up for yourself, you have this different type of confidence. But my clients get that confidence long before their body changes a lot drastically, because their energy is changing, their mindset is shifting, they're showing up for themselves, and it feels fucking good. So take steps toward that goal. And when tomorrow you compare yourself to the person you are today, you can feel pride in your accomplishments instead of bad that someone else is farther along in their journey in this particular area than you. And that's why I always say you can't compare your chapter 5 to someone else's chapter 20, right? And the same thing, like, it's always, easy for people who have never crash dieted to lose a lot of fucking weight really quickly. But the person who's crash dieted and gained the fucking weight back multiple cycles over years of time, she needs a more curated approach. Like, her body and her metabolism are not playing these games anymore, right? So this gets easier with practice, and honestly, as you mature as well, I feel. But at the end of the day, guys, the most important thing to remember is that the only person and the only thing you have the true power to control is you and the things that you are in control of, which are how you respond to life. The only thing that you are in control of is you. You are in control of your health. You are even if you have things that are outside of your control, like PCOS, you can control the symptoms. Like, PCOS is highly reversible, right? If you're struggling in relationships and you feel like you have this needy energy going on, fix that shit. Why do you feel like you need this person or you have this anxious attachment? How can you work on healing that? And I don't like to use the word fix. Like, we don't need to be fixed, but it's like, you know what I mean, right? Look within yourself, because that is where you have the power. You don't have control over if a guy or a girl ghosts you. It's like, fuck. But you do have control over how you respond and how you navigate the next situation. And I know that shit sucks. Easier said than done. But again, it's like focusing on your own growth. And the confidence to stop comparing yourself to others will follow. So, to summarize today, guys, focus on yourself. Allow, inspiration to be a positive source of comparison, but any areas that you feel inadequate, or that, when someone else is talking about their goals and their vision or their wins, if you find yourself feeling more bad about yourself as someone else is, not that you're simultaneously happy for them, but you also feel like I wish that was me. What can you do about it? And what solutions can you bring about in your reality, in your thought processes, in your habits, in your environment that are within your control that you can shift? And if you find yourself feeling a little bit stuck, like you're in this place of like, I don't know, or I can only get so far, then you would probably benefit from a coach and a community. And so in that case, I would love to invite you to apply for a 101 transformation coaching program, the Embody Her Coaching Experience. This is so much more than like a workout and nutrition plan. This is a full mind, body, soul transformation. What we do within the Embody Her Coaching Experience is we help busy, driven women achieve their goal physique while also prioritizing their mental health and well-being, shifting your mindset so that way you can fully embody her. Who is her? It's the vision of yourself that you have, that she lives within you already. You just need to activate her and release those shitty patterns, shitty belief systems that keep you in the same loops all the fucking time. And this is the sacred work we do within this container. So if you feel called to that, you can always, ask me for more information or apply in the link in the description. But that is all I have for you guys today. I am super grateful for every single one of you who listen, and it really, really helps the podcast and also motivates me as well to hear that you guys get value from this. So please, 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 if this helped you in any way, I really want to invite you to let me know, give me feedback. The most helpful way you can help is by leaving a review of the podcast and a rating. Leaving a rating it does a little bit, but if you leave a review, it helps the podcast even more. And if you want to go above and beyond with that and you feel like it really, really helped you, and you know that this podcast episode would help other people in your, in your reach, feel free to send this to them, or any other podcast episodes that you feel like would help. Share it on your stories, DM me, let me know like if this helped you. Again, it's just as like, it's fuel for my own fire, and it honestly keeps me super motivated. I mean, imagine if you had a podcast and every single time you posted, you got that feedback that you were giving value, or you got that feedback that someone was helping. And it takes a few seconds, but it really just helps me thrive and just want to continue to create. And I see you guys listening. I see the, views, and I know that you guys are listening, but hearing you guys actually knowing like who specifically is listening helps me so much. So I want to thank you. And again, remember, own lane, own race, own pace, girl. And be very, very conscious of the thoughts and the stories that you're telling yourself, and all the reasons why you feel like you can't have something. And how can we fucking change that? Because you can have anything you fucking want in this life, 100%. It's literally like the laws of the universe. You just have to shift the unconscious things that are playing out in your reality that keep you stuck in the same patterns. All right, loves. Love you so much. I'll see you on the next one. And thanks for being here with me. Bye.